What happens when a man who's spent his entire life running from commitment meets a woman who represents everything he's been avoiding? This is the story of Cole Maverick Jensen, a legendary rodeo cowboy whose heart belonged only to the arena, until fate brought him to a small Texas town and into the life of Kate Morrison, a young widow carrying the weight of loss and the responsibility of raising 2 children alone. Sometimes the most dangerous ride isn't on the back of a bronco, but the journey into someone else's heart. And sometimes the bravest thing a cowboy can do isn't staying on for 8 seconds. It's deciding to dismount and stay in one place forever. But before we begin, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us where you're listening from. The Texas sun blazed mercilessly over the Sweetwater County Fairgrounds, turning the arena dust into a shimmering haze that danced above the packed earth. Cole Maverick Jensen adjusted his black Stetson, feeling the familiar weight against his weathered brow as he watched the previous rider get thrown from a particularly ornery bronco named Devil's Backbone. At 34, Cole was a living legend in the rodeo circuit. His lean, 6-foot frame bore the scars of countless rides: a slightly crooked nose from a bull's hoof in Amarillo, a jagged scar along his left forearm from barbed wire in Lubbock, and hands so calloused they felt like leather gloves. His dark brown hair, perpetually tousled by wind and hat-wearing, framed a face that magazines had called ruggedly handsome, but which Cole simply considered the result of too much sun and too many hard landings. Maverick Jensen, the announcer's voice boomed across the fairgrounds. Riding Thunder Creek, a horse that's thrown 12 riders this season. Cole spat into the dust and adjusted his protective vest. Thunder Creek was a black stallion with the temperament of a tornado and the unpredictability of Texas weather. Perfect. Cole lived for moments like these. 8 seconds of pure chaos, where nothing existed except him, the horse, and the challenge of staying on top. He approached the chute, where Thunder Creek was pawing impatiently, the horse's eyes showing the wild intelligence that made him so dangerous. Cole had been doing this long enough to read a horse's intentions in the set of its ears, the tension in its muscles. "You sure about this one, Maverick?" asked Tommy Rodriguez, his longtime friend and pickup rider. "Horse put Jake McAllister in the hospital last month." Cole swung himself over the rail and settled onto Thunder Creek's back, feeling the animal's barely contained power beneath him. 8 seconds, Tommy. Just need 8 seconds. As he wrapped the rope around his gloved hand, Cole felt the familiar rush of adrenaline flooding his system. This was his drug, his church, his reason for existing. In the arena, there was no past, no future, no complications, just the purity of man versus beast. The gate swung open. Thunder Creek exploded from the chute like a black missile, immediately launching into a series of bone-jarring bucks that would have unseated most riders in the first 2 seconds. But Cole moved with the horse, his body finding that perfect balance between control and surrender. The world became a blur of motion, dust, screaming crowds, the thunderous sound of hooves against earth. 3 seconds. 4. 5. Thunder Creek suddenly changed tactics, spinning left with violence that snapped Cole's neck. The crowd gasped as he momentarily lost his seat, but Cole had been here before. 6 seconds. 7. The buzzer sounded, and Cole vaulted off, landing hard but upright. The scoreboard flashed, 89 points. A winning ride. "Hell of a ride, Maverick," said Buck Morrison, the local rodeo organizer, slapping Cole on the back. "You planning to stick around for the dance tonight? Whole town's invited." Cole was already shaking his head. "Thanks, but I need to hit the road. Got a rodeo in Abilene tomorrow." "Come on, man," Tommy protested. "When's the last time you actually stopped somewhere for more than 12 hours? Cole couldn't remember, and that was exactly how he liked it. Stopping meant thinking. Thinking meant remembering things he'd rather forget. But as he loaded his gear into his battered Ford pickup, Cole noticed a woman sitting on the fence rail about 50 yards away. She was watching the arena, but not with the excitement of a typical rodeo fan. Her expression was distant, almost melancholy, as if she was seeing something else entirely. She was probably in her late 20s, with long auburn hair that caught the late afternoon light and turned it to copper. Even from a distance, Cole could see she was beautiful, but it was a subdued beauty, like a flower that had been through a harsh winter. She wore a simple blue sundress and boots, and next to her on the fence sat a little girl who couldn't have been more than 5, and a boy who looked about 7. "That's Kate Morrison," Buck said, following Cole's gaze. "My cousin. Lost her husband in Afghanistan about 18 months ago. She doesn't usually come to these things, but the kids wanted to see the rodeo." Cole felt an unexpected pang in his chest. The little girl was pointing at something in the arena and tugging on her mother's arm, but the woman seemed lost in thought. Cole watched as she suddenly focused on her children, smiled, and lifted the little girl into her lap. Even from 50 yards away, Cole could see how that smile transformed her entire face. "They look like they could use some ice cream," Cole found himself saying. Buck raised an eyebrow. "You offering to buy?" Cole was already walking toward them before he could change his mind. As he approached, the little girl spotted him first. "Mama, it's the cowboy," she announced in the loud whisper that only children can manage. "The one who rode the really big horse." The woman, Kate, looked up at Cole with eyes the color of sage honey. Up close, he could see the faint lines of worry around those eyes, but he could also see a strength there, a resilience that had been tested and had not broken. "Ma'am." Cole touched the brim of his hat. "I'm Cole Jensen. Couldn't help but notice these young ones might enjoy some ice cream. There's a vendor over by the concession stand." Kate's expression grew guarded. "That's very kind, but we're fine. Thank you." "Please, Mama," the little girl pleaded. "I've been so good today." Cole could see the internal struggle playing out on Kate's face, pride warring with a mother's desire to give her children simple pleasures. "Tell you what," Cole said, addressing the children but watching Kate. "I just won this here rodeo, and tradition says the winner has to buy ice cream for the prettiest lady and the bravest young folks at the fairgrounds. Otherwise, it's bad luck." The little girl giggled. "Is that really a tradition?" Cole winked at her. "Absolutely. Ask any cowboy." Kate's lips curved in the slightest smile, the first genuine expression Cole had seen from her. "I think this cowboy might be making up traditions as he goes along." "Maybe," Cole admitted, "but the ice cream's still cold and the day's still hot." For a moment, their eyes met and held. Cole felt something shift in his chest, like a door opening in a room that had been locked for years. "Say yes, Mama," the little girl whispered loudly. "He's nice." Kate looked at her children's hopeful faces, then back at Cole. "All right, but just ice cream." The Dairy Delight stand was painted in cheerful red and white stripes, its awning providing blessed shade from the Texas heat. Cole found himself in the surreal position of ordering 4 ice cream cones, while 2 children debated the merits of chocolate versus strawberry. "I'll have chocolate with sprinkles," announced Emma, the 5-year-old, bouncing on her toes. "And rainbow sprinkles, not just the brown ones." "Vanilla," said 7-year-old Jake with the seriousness of someone making a life-altering decision. "With a sugar cone." Cole looked at Kate. "And for the lady?" "Oh, I don't need." "Mama always gets mint chip," Emma interrupted. "But she never finishes it because she says we can share, but really she just gives it all to us." Kate's cheeks reddened. "Emma, smart little one, aren't you?" Cole said to Emma, then turned to the vendor. "For ice cream cones, make the mint chip a double scoop." They found a picnic table under an old oak tree, its branches providing a canopy of green shade. The fairgrounds were beginning to empty as the sun sank lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "So," Cole said, settling across from Kate while the children attacked their ice cream with focused intensity, "Buck mentioned you work at the library." Kate nodded, seeming more relaxed now. "Part-time. It's quiet work, which suits me. And I can bring the children during summer breaks." "What kind of books do you like?" "Anything, really. But I have a weakness for travel books. Places I'll probably never see." She caught herself, as if she'd revealed more than she intended. "What about you? When you're not riding horses that want to kill you, I mean." Cole found himself laughing, a genuine laugh that surprised him. "Well, when you put it like that, it does sound like a questionable career choice. I read some, mostly on the road, airport novels, magazines." "Where are you from originally?" Kate asked. "Montana," Cole said. Little town called Cedar Ridge. Population 847, according to the sign. Emma looked up from her ice cream, which had managed to cover most of her face. Do you have a house there? The innocent question hit Cole unexpectedly. No, sweetheart. I don't have a house anywhere. Where do you sleep? Jake asked with genuine curiosity. Hotels mostly. Sometimes in my truck if the weather's nice and the stars are out. Emma's eyes went wide. You sleep in your truck? That sounds like camping. We went camping once, Jake said suddenly, his voice growing quiet. Before Daddy went to heaven, he taught me how to make a fire and everything. The casual mention of their father created a moment of silence. Cole watched Kate's face carefully, saw the way her composure held, but her eyes grew distant. Your daddy sounds like he was a good man, Cole said quietly. He was the best, Emma declared with absolute certainty. He could fix anything, and he made really good pancakes, and he sang songs when we couldn't sleep. Cole found himself humming an old song, then singing softly, Oh, give me a home, where the buffalo roam. Both children joined in, their small voices mixing with his deeper one. Kate listened with an expression Cole couldn't quite read, part sadness, part gratitude. When they finished, Emma clapped her sticky hands. That was good. Sing another one. Emma, we should probably head home soon, Kate said, glancing at the darkening sky. It's getting late, and Jake has baseball practice tomorrow morning. Cole felt unexpected disappointment. What position do you play, Jake? Second base. I'm not very good yet, but Coach says I'm getting better. Baseball's a game of practice. I played some in high school. Really? Were you good? I was all right. Better at staying on horses than hitting curveballs, though. Kate stood up, gathering napkins and cups. We really should go. Thank you for the ice cream, Cole. That was very generous. Maybe I could stop by that baseball practice tomorrow. Give Jake a few pointers. Kate paused. Oh, you don't need to do that. I'm sure you have places to be. Actually, Cole heard himself saying, I was thinking of staying in town for a day or two. Been on the road for a while. Kate hesitated, then nodded. The practice is at 9 at the elementary school field. As they walked back toward the parking area, Emma slipped her small hand into Cole's. The gesture was so natural, so trusting, that it stopped him in his tracks. Thank you for the ice cream, Mr. Cole, she said, looking up at him with eyes that were a younger version of her mother's. Cole crouched down to Emma's level. Thank you for sharing your evening with me, Miss Emma. And you too, Jake. He stood and looked at Kate. Kate, I thank you for the company. She smiled then, a real smile that transformed her entire face. Thank you for reminding me that ice cream tastes better when you actually eat it. As Cole watched them walk away, he felt something shift inside his chest. For 15 years, he'd measured his life in 8-second intervals. For the first time in his adult life, Cole Jensen found himself looking backward, wishing an evening didn't have to end. 2 weeks later, Cole was still in town, and he was starting to understand why caged animals paced. He'd rented a room at Mrs. Henderson's boarding house, found part-time work helping Buck Morrison repair fences, and had somehow become a regular at Jake's baseball practices. He was also falling deeper in love with Kate Morrison every day, and it was scaring the hell out of him. The realization had hit him 3 days ago when he'd stopped by the library during Kate's shift. She'd been helping an elderly man find books about woodworking, and Cole had watched her patient kindness. When she'd looked up and seen Cole watching her, she'd smiled that radiant smile, and Cole had felt his heart actually skip a beat. This particular evening found him sitting on the porch swing at Mrs. Henderson's boarding house, staring at his cell phone and the 17 missed calls from Tommy Rodriguez. The Abilene rodeo had come and gone. His savings account was getting lighter, while his confusion was getting heavier. You look like a man wrestling with his own conscience, said Mrs. Henderson, appearing with 2 glasses of sweet tea. Mind if an old woman gives you some unsolicited advice? Mrs. Henderson was 73, sharp as a tack, and had been observing Cole's situation with amused interest. I'd welcome any advice at this point, Cole admitted. You're in love with Kate Morrison. It wasn't a question, so Cole didn't bother denying it. Yes, ma'am. And you're scared because you've never been in love before. I don't know how to do this. I've spent 15 years learning how to leave places. I don't know how to stay. What's the worst thing that could happen if you stayed? I could hurt her. I could hurt the kids. And what's the worst thing that could happen if you left? I'd regret it for the rest of my life. Mrs. Henderson rocked in silence. Cole, that girl has been existing for 18 months, not living. But since you've been here, I've seen her laugh. Really laugh. You think you don't know how to stay. Son, you've been staying for 2 weeks already. Before Cole could respond, his phone rang. Kate's name appeared on the screen. Cole. Her voice was strained. I'm sorry to bother you, but Jake's running a fever and he's asking for you. I'll be right there, Cole said, already standing. The Morrison house was a small 2-story craftsman with a wraparound porch. Kate met him at the door, worry clear in her eyes. He started feeling bad around dinner time, she explained as she led him upstairs. His temperature's 102. Jake's room was decorated with baseball posters. The little boy was lying in bed, his face flushed with fever, but he perked up when he saw Cole. Hey, buddy, Cole said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Your mom says you're not feeling too good. My head hurts and my stomach feels funny, Jake said, but I'm glad you came. Cole felt his throat tighten. Of course I came. Want me to read you a story? For the next hour, Cole read Jake 3 stories, while Kate bustled around bringing water and adjusting blankets. When Jake finally drifted off to sleep, Cole found Kate in the kitchen, washing dishes with more intensity than the task required. Thank you, she said without turning around, for coming over, for reading to him. Cole moved to stand beside her, picking up a dish towel. You keep saying I don't have to do things, but the truth is I want to. I want to be here. Kate's hands stilled in the soapy water. Cole, I know this is complicated, he said quietly. But Kate, I haven't been able to think about anything but you and Emma and Jake for 2 weeks. She turned to face him then, and Cole saw tears in her eyes. You don't understand. I can't do this again. Do what again? Fall in love with someone who might leave. David and I, we had plans. We were going to grow old together, watch our children graduate. And then one day, I got a knock on my door and a flag in a box, and all those plans turned into memories. Cole set down the dish towel. Kate, I'm not going anywhere. You say that now, but you don't know what it's like. The day-to-day reality of this life. Soccer practices and parent-teacher conferences and sleepless nights. The bills and the broken washing machines. This isn't glamorous, Cole. This isn't 8 seconds of glory. This is real life. And it's hard, and it's forever. Cole reached out and took her hands, feeling the calluses from work, the small scar on her thumb from cooking. These were working hands, hands that had known loss and responsibility. Kate, do you know what I was doing 3 weeks ago tonight? I was in a motel room in Arkansas, eating convenience store food and planning which rodeo to hit next. I was 34 years old, and I owned nothing that couldn't fit in the back of a pickup truck. I had no friends who knew my middle name, no one who cared if I got hurt. He paused, searching for the right words. And do you know what I was doing tonight? I was reading Green Eggs and Ham to a 7-year-old boy who has somehow decided I'm worth trusting. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't thinking about where I was going next. I was thinking about staying right here. Kate was crying now. Silent tears she didn't bother to wipe away. What if you change your mind? What if 6 months from now you wake up and remember what freedom feels like? What if I don't? Cole countered. What if this is the freedom I've been looking for? I'm scared, Kate whispered. So am I, Cole admitted. I'm terrified. I don't know how to be a stepfather. I don't know how to love someone whose heart has been broken before. But Kate, I know I want to learn. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box he'd been carrying for 3 days. Kate's eyes widened. Cole, you can't be serious. I've never been more serious. Cole dropped to one knee in Kate Morrison's kitchen. Kate Morrison, I know this is crazy. I know we've only known each other for 2 weeks. But I also know that I love you and Emma and Jake more than I've ever loved anything. I want to be here for soccer practices and parent-teacher conferences. I want to teach Jake how to throw a curveball and help Emma with her homework. Will you marry me? Kate stared at the ring, then at Cole. For a moment, Cole thought she might faint. Then, very quietly, she said, "Ask me again in 6 months." Cole blinked. "What? Ask me again in 6 months?" Kate repeated, her voice growing stronger. "If you're still here in 6 months, if you still want this life, ask me again." Cole slowly stood up. 6 months. I need to know this isn't just romantic impulse. I need to know you understand what you're asking for. Okay, he said finally. 6 months. But Kate, I'm not going anywhere. Kate smiled then, the first real smile he'd seen from her all evening. You'd really give up rodeo? For this? For us? Kate, I've been chasing something my whole life, without knowing what it was. Turns out, it wasn't in any arena. It was here, in this kitchen with you. 6 months later, on a warm spring evening, Cole found himself back in Kate's kitchen. But this time, Jake was helping him cook dinner, while Emma set the table and Kate graded papers at the kitchen counter. The ring box was in his pocket again, but this time, he wasn't nervous. He'd spent 6 months learning what it meant to stay. He'd been to every baseball game, every school play, every doctor's appointment. He'd fixed the washing machine, taught Emma to ride a bike, and helped Kate through the anniversary of David's death. He'd found work with a local construction company and discovered that domestic life was the greatest adventure he'd ever embarked upon. Mom, Jake said suddenly, Cole's been here every day for 6 months. Kate looked up from her grading. Yes, he has. That's longer than anybody except you and Emma. Emma, never one to be left out, piped up from the dining room. Does that mean he gets to stay forever now? Kate and Cole's eyes met across the kitchen. Cole reached into his pocket. Well, he said, dropping to one knee for the second time in Kate Morrison's kitchen, that depends on what your mom says to my question. This time, when Cole opened the ring box, Kate didn't hesitate. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, yes, yes. As Cole slipped the ring onto Kate's finger, Emma cheered from the dining room, and Jake abandoned his cooking duties to join the group hug that formed in the kitchen. 2 years later, Cole Jensen Morrison stood at the edge of the same arena where he'd first seen Kate, but this time he wasn't wearing spurs. He was wearing a wedding ring and coaching Jake's little league team, which had made it to the county championship. Kate sat in the bleachers with Emma, who was now 7 and had recently announced her intention to become either a veterinarian or a princess. They were cheering for Jake, who had just turned 9 and was becoming quite the baseball player under Cole's guidance. The rodeo was in town again, and Cole had brought his family to watch. As the current champion rider took his 8-second journey, Cole felt a brief flutter of recognition. Do you miss it? Kate asked, sliding her hand into his. Cole watched the rider dismount and raise his arms to the crowd. Sometimes, he admitted honestly. But you know what I don't miss. What? Going home to an empty hotel room afterward. Emma tugged on Cole's shirt. Daddy Cole, when I'm older, can I ride horses like that? Cole had never gotten used to being called Daddy Cole, and it still made his chest tight with emotion. We'll see, sweetheart. Maybe we'll start with some riding lessons. But not the bucking kind, Kate added quickly. Jake came running over after his team's victory, his face flushed with excitement. Did you see my hit? It went all the way to the fence. I saw it, Cole said, ruffling the boy's hair. Your dad would have been proud. As they walked toward the concession stands for celebratory ice cream, Cole reflected on the journey that had brought him here. He'd thought he was living when he was always moving, always leaving. But real life, it turned out, was in the staying. It was in Jake's baseball games and Emma's school plays, and Kate's quiet moments reading before bed. The arena lights were bright, the crowd was cheering, and somewhere out there, another cowboy was climbing onto another bronco, chasing 8 seconds of glory. Cole didn't need to chase anything anymore. Everything he'd ever been looking for was walking beside him, holding his hand, calling him Daddy, and trusting him to stay. And he would. For all the 8-second intervals that made up a lifetime, Cole Jensen Morrison was finally, completely, home. If you like this story, leave your opinion in the comments and, of course, leave a like and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Big hug and see you soon.